and this is No Frills ASMR. I was thinking about shows I've been watching because yesterday I posted in the community page about a show that I had just finished the third episode of called The Studio. This is on Apple TV, and I am loving it. They've released or dropped, or whatever you want to say, 3 episodes so far. And it stars Seth Rogen and Catherine O'Hara, who I love. She was the studio head, but she has now, I've already forgotten. Did she get, I guess she got fired. That's right, she got fired. And Seth Rogen has been promoted to studio head of this current day studio. And it's really good because it's a comedy, but you can tell it's based on things that probably really happen in the world of movies. And just that they have what they're doing in real life right now is so many of these already used, what do they call them? IPs, superheroes or Barbie, games. I don't know, I would say even podcasts, they turn into shows, things like that they know are popular. So he's dealing with that. And the first episode, called The Promotion, he gets promoted. And then he really wants to work with Martin Scorsese. And he basically makes a deal with him, but has to deal with the studio. And he loves Scorsese, and it's just funny. And then the second one is called The Oneer. And he's the studio head, but he really wants to go to the shoot for a one take. That's going to be awesome. And it's just silly, the whole episode. And if you watch the episode, you can pay attention. It is a one shot. So they actually follow him around with the camera while filming a thing about filming a one shot. So that's fun. And then the third episode that was on last night is called The Note. And he has to give a note to director Ron Howard. And the whole thing's just funny. But I just think the writing is right on. The directing's great. The acting is awesome. What is her name? Hold on. Not Catherine O'Hara, but oh shoot, I can't think of her name. Han. She's so good in it too. It's good. Anyway, yeah, I recommend the studio, Apple TV. The other thing I watched lately, I rewatched all of, sorry, I still have my cold, Severance season 1, and rewatching it, it was maybe better than the first time. I was reluctant to rewatch because I don't usually rewatch shows, and in my memory it was sort of bleak, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that again. But rewatching it with the information you have after having watched the whole season just made it that much more interesting, because you could look at every scene and go, oh, that's that. But now I have watched all of season 2, and I know because there is another ASMR, Kim Sin ASMR, she did her What I Watched This Month, and she didn't like all of season 2 until the final episode. I loved it. I loved it all the way through. So, and now that I've finished, I kind of want to go back. Before season 3, I'll go back and rewatch to see if I can pick up stuff. But I just thought I admit there were times where I was like, is this like how I don't know if you guys watched Walking Dead, but sometimes they'd have a storyline going on you're excited about. And then they'd go visit some other character for a whole episode that had nothing to do with this. And then they'd do it again. And you're like, oh, don't do that. And that's kind of what Severance season 2 did, and probably why people didn't like it, because it went and followed like Miss Cobell for an episode, and it followed Gemma's character for an episode. Sorry. So maybe that's part of the issue, but that didn't bother me. I was interested in it all. So, but yeah, I thought the whole thing was great. And if you haven't watched Severance at all, it stars Adam Scott and this really gorgeous woman, Britt Lauer. She's like this redheaded, I don't know, just gorgeous. And then I think his name's Tramel Tillman. He plays Mr. Milchek. Oh my gosh, where has he been? Because he is so great. I sometimes just go and rewatch, like, he'll have office parties where he dances. I'll just rewatch that scene to bring myself joy and happiness, even though he can be a bad guy. And then John Turturro and Christopher Walken are in it, and just everybody. The cast is phenomenal. It's so good. But basically the gist of the show is that people decided to get their memories surgically divided so that they're one person in the day and then a different person at work, and the day person doesn't have to remember anything about the work side of it, so they can live their life without ever actually having to go to work because they don't remember it. Which sounds kind of interesting. But the problem is the people from work have a life too. And eventually that starts to kind of be a problem because the work people can't leave work, and they're real people. So it's very interesting. And then there's a whole other thing going on with the place that they work at. It's good. It's very interesting. Very different. Very different. I'm talking kind of fast because I get excited about this kind of thing. The other show that I watched, now I'll tell, okay, it's Adolescence, it's called. Adolescence. This is on Netflix. These two are both on Apple. Adolescence. I know, I'm sure that a lot of people won't enjoy this show because it is sensitive, I would say, in nature, and I would totally understand. My boys are grown now, but I think if they were young, I might have trouble watching this show. But it is about a 13-year-old boy. His name's Jamie Miller, and he's I don't remember the actor's name, but he is so good and so believable and sweet, and oh my gosh. But so Jamie, in episode 1, so I'm not really spoiling anything right at the beginning, he is arrested for the murder of his schoolmate. And I think it was probably at about the point they're in the police station that I realized, is this one take? And I watched the entirety of the show, thinking, oh, it's like what was that movie, Birdman or Birdland? What was it, Birdman? Where they did a one take, and made it look like one take. And I was like, this show's really good. Like, the acting's so good. Everything's believable. Everybody's plot points are believable. It's just a good show, but kind of hard, especially probably if you have young boys. But then after I finished the show, I was watching a behind the scenes, and I found out the entire thing, it isn't just made to look like one take. It was one take. So there are 4 episodes. I think they're about an hour apiece. And each episode, they'd take one day per episode. I think they said they'd film 10 times, all the way through, and then pick one take to use. It is kind of unbelievable when you watch it and you see how it's all put together and how they have to hand the cameras off and have everything ready. So when the actor like gets in a car, they have the car in front of it that can move with it. It is kind of incredible. It's really, really good. So as a person who's into film, I think knowing that it's a one take is kind of interesting when you watch it. So there you go. I watched a show called, I may have already talked about this, I don't remember, called Apple Cider Vinegar. Hold on, I'm going to turn the gain down to clear my throat. Sorry about that. And this show is based, it says all over it, this is not based on a true story. Or I forget, no, they say it more like sort of tongue-in-cheek than that. But it's sort of based on the story of Belle Gibson, who was a wellness influencer, apparently very well known in Australia, but I think she went worldwide. She was like one of the top downloaded apps on Apple for a while, apparently, her app about cooking. But it's really about Belle and actually this other character who she's more based on a conglomerate of wellness influencers, but her name is Mila in the show. And they both claim, one does and one claims, to have had cancer and cured themselves through clean diet, detoxification rituals of sorts, and foregoing Western medicine, let's say. And it's interesting. I mean, I thought that was a pretty good documentary. I thought it was well made. The actress playing Belle was awesome. She was really good. I'm not familiar with Belle Gibson, so I don't know what she's like in real life, but the actress was very good. And it's a subject that actually kind of hits home with me because my husband has some health issues, but also my son. I haven't gone into that on this channel, but there's a whole issue there. And I don't know how to say some issues cannot be treated with eating healthy. It won't hurt you to eat healthy, but when people say like they're going to cure disease, it is so dangerous for people who listen to that. That's a different episode. But anyway, it's a good show. I won't go into all that right now, but it's a good show. I thought it was very interesting. The only movie I can think of off the top of my head that I watched was called A Different Man. Did you guys watch this movie? I like never even heard anyone talk about it. And I can't remember. I just saw it and I was like, oh, it has Sebastian Stan. And I think Sebastian Stan is so good. He played Tommy in Pam and Tommy, about, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's sex tape and everything. He was awesome. And then he played Trump in The Apprentice, which, by the way, I don't know if I ever mentioned that movie. That's a great movie. It was really good. I think it's not political. It's like way back from when Trump was a young businessman in New York getting into real estate. So it's that period. So you don't need to worry about it being political. It's just about that. I thought it was really good. And Sebastian Stan plays Trump, and he's excellent. And then in this A Different Man, I kind of want to put it, uh, it's not like this, but it's sort of similar in to me to the substance. So they're both. I loved the substance. And I think part of why I loved it is because I am a woman in my going on mid 50s. And so I totally understand how Demi Moore, who, by the way, is in her 60s playing 50s, but anyway, and they show Demi Moore completely naked. And, with age, things start to droop, even though she's still stunningly beautiful. She has this substance put on her to make her more youthful. And this movie would not be for everybody. It's definitely got some gross things on purpose to make you feel kind of uncomfortable and grossed out. But A Different Man is sort of similar in that Sebastian Stan, he plays an actor who undergoes a medical procedure to transform his appearance because he has a physical appearance that some people might not think is beautiful. And so he takes a substance that turns him into like a smoke show guy, right? But the truth of the matter is, throughout the movie, you kind of learn that maybe his problems are more with him than with the way he looks. I thought it was a good movie. I like both of these. Now, the substance at the very end for me kind of it goes off a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, it's a little extreme, but I was okay with it. I'm trying to remember the end of A Different Man. I think The Different Man ends, I think it's a pretty good ending, but I kind of forget exactly what happens because it's been a while. Okay, that was a good one. Oh, I just recently finished watching a show called A Body in the Snow. And it's about Karen Reed. Holy smokes. So I had heard about this, but I didn't really know about this. And my son and his girlfriend live in Boston. And so they were like, you got to watch this. This documentary, it's on, I want to say HBO. I think it's on Max. I thought it was so interesting. I love things like this that you're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And they kind of give you information because you're going through the trial with her and stuff comes out. And then you're like, wait a minute. So it kind of reminded me of the documentary The Staircase, where I imagine two different people could watch this. And, well, I don't just imagine, I know, and could come out with totally different ideas about what happened. It was so funny. After watching The Staircase, which, if you don't know about it, is a documentary about a woman who was found dead at the bottom of her stairs. And not either. I mean, it could be her husband did it, or she just got drunk and fell, or an owl attacked her, or there are all these theories of whether or not he's guilty. And when I finished watching it, I was like, dude's guilty. And then I called my sister who watched it, but we never talked about it. And she was like, oh my gosh, he's so innocent. I was like, but what? We watched the same show. And I think that's probably how this show will be. Because after hearing everything, I'll tell you one thing, whether or not she's guilty of something, I couldn't find her guilty beyond a reasonable doubt based on what I saw come out in court. That's what I'll say about that. But it was a very interesting watch. I thought it was very interesting. So when I'm done watching these more serious shows, I often will watch the show, and this is going to be Southern Charm on Bravo. I have watched this since season one, and it is a reality show about all these really pretty wealthy people who live in Charleston. And I can't, I don't even know what to say about it. But for some reason, I've watched some of the Real Housewives. I've watched, I don't know, but this one has stuck. For some reason, I love it. But this season, there is a guy named Shep who he fell in love with this much younger woman from the Bahamas, and then they went to visit, and she was just blowing him off. And so that was sort of the storyline for this season, I think. But for me, the more interesting storyline was the other guy. Oh shoot, I can't think of his name. Hold on. Um, ah, Austin. Oh, Craig. Craig is dating this girl, Paige, and Paige is on this other show, Summer House, which I need to watch. But Paige and Craig have been dating for 3 years, and I think really they're just adults. They weren't married. They broke up. It's not that big of a, I mean, it's a big deal to them, but like whatever. But what's kind of interesting is they hash it out. Like he's starting to hash it out. I haven't watched the second part of the reunion yet, but just watching people kind of hash out that kind of relationship on camera is kind of interesting. It's like what we all want to know, like what happened? Why did you break up? You seem so happy. But anyway, so that's been kind of just like a nothing show to watch at night. And then I also watch the other reality shows. And this one I love is Love on the Spectrum. And this is a show with people who are on the autism spectrum. And, basically they call it a spectrum because some people, I think, are like, I don't know how to say it because I don't really know much about it, but they're basically different levels of where you are. And like there's a woman who's the counselor, like the dating counselor, and she found out she's on the spectrum, but she is I don't even know the language. I can't think of the words for it. But basically she runs a business and everything. I'm not sure that I would even know just talking to her that she's on the spectrum. But then there are some people who are like further on the spectrum and like have real trouble with anxiety, being around people, all that kind of thing. So they're trying to kind of find their person who is sort of similar, I think, on the spectrum with them. But it is very interesting to watch, and to watch the families who are with them, their moms and dads. And I just really enjoy that show. And I think part of why I like reality shows sometimes, like I've watched a lot of like Indian Matchmaker, and there was like one, I forget what it was called, but it was like Jewish Matchmaker. I find all these shows interesting because you kind of see a world that maybe you don't really know that well, and it helps enlighten you on what's going on. And I know they're reality, so it's whatever. But on Love on the Spectrum, there's like these people, they're real people. I'll call them characters on the show though. There's like Tanner, he's so fun. And then Abby and David are a couple that met, and I think they're still together. And I love them so much. And Connor, whose whole family is on the show, his brothers and his mom and his sister. And it's just really interesting to watch their interactions with each other and everything. I love it. I love it. The only other show I can think of is Alone. You guys know I like Alone. But it's the Australia version. And I don't know if they always make them in Australia, and this is just the first one that's been on Netflix. But I do love listening to the Australian accent. And they have animals there. Like there's a platypus and wallabies and Tasmanian devils. Mm. And they keep saying we're halfway to the South Pole. And I was looking at the globe and I'm like, I think Cleveland's halfway to the North Pole. So it seems like a weird thing to say, but okay. But anyway, it's fun. They basically give you all your camera equipment and put you out in the wilderness, and you have to film everything yourself. There's nobody there filming. There's no crew. You're just alone in the wilderness, and you have to catch food and make a fire and make a shelter and just do everything. It's hard. I couldn't last. I will be honest. I wouldn't last a day. I would get in the tent alone at night and hear things around me and be like, that's it. I'm calling. And they give you a phone, like an emergency phone, and you can call and say, I'm tapping out. But yeah, it's a good show. I like that. Generally, it comes down to who can starve the longest in the end, but that's just that. Let me think. If I don't think there's anything, I can't think. I haven't watched. Somebody asked about White Lotus. I watched season 1, and I don't know why. I haven't watched season 2, and I haven't watched season 3. And sometimes once you fall behind, then it's like, oh no, how am I ever going to catch up? Because I really want to watch Hacks. I love the show Hacks. If you haven't watched that, it's on HBO. I think it's on HBO. It's so good. Oh my gosh. So that's coming up, but I have to leave town because my uncle died, and we're now having a service for him. So I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks. So I don't know when I'll get to watch that. Oh, and then there's a new show with John Hamm that I want to watch called My Friends and Neighbors, I think. I haven't watched that. Oh my gosh, there's so many shows to watch. So let me know in the comments if there's anything you're like, you should watch this. Because I will try.